Hi, welcome to this show of Gridiron TV. I'm your host, Stuart Young, and I'm also joined by Alan Price. Alan, you're going to be talking to Will Brown on tonight's show. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
That's right, yes. We've got Will Brown in from a company called Athlete Training Systems. He's going to be talking to us from a strength and conditioning aspect. He's currently working with Edinburgh Wolves, the American football team, getting them prepared for the senior season coming up. So we're going to ask him some questions about what it takes to train to get in shape for American football, nutrition guides and so on. So we'll get some good advice from him.
Okay, good. I'm also going to be talking to the International Director of Development, Steve Quinn, about FBU and what players expect. Alan, we're also going to be talking about the Irish League as well. There was 3 games this weekend.
Yep, so they're well into their season now. We'll go through a few of the games, some of the results, and what's coming up in the future for them.
Good. So don't go away, Gridiron TV. We'll be right back.
Hi there and welcome back. Now joined by Will Brown from Athlete Training Systems. Will, thanks for joining us.
Cheers, thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about who Athlete Training Systems are, first of all?
Athlete Training Systems is a human performance enhancement company that was started by myself and my training partner, John Soulsby.
Okay, great. And what kind of things do you do? Is it just working with clubs or specific sports? Or what is it that you cover?
We try and cover all bases. I mean, we want to work with as many varied sports as possible. We also do individual coaching on a one-to-one personal basis as well. And we're also quite interested in a youth development aspect of it as well.
Excellent. So you're now working with the Edinburgh Wolves for American football and developing them. So how do you find actually coaching a team now and getting the guys ready for their season coming up?
It's a very interesting process, especially for me because I'm used to one-on-one coaching and coaching maybe small groups, but coming to a group of about like 40 plus people and trying to formulate plans for that large amount of people and rationing out equipment between them and stuff is quite a challenge. It's quite good.
So I've seen a few of the things that you do with the Edinburgh Wolves right now, some of the training programs. How do you manage to make it interesting for them? Because I know some of the stuff you do is quite different, not just from your standard gym work. How do you get the guys involved and keep them interested to work harder?
Well, a lot of the things evolve around various use of equipment that we use. We have a lot of various bits of equipment that a lot of people may have seen on YouTube. They've seen from the top level, NFL level. We've got a lot of that stuff in. We also use very different, some might say odd training methods, but other things like that just to keep the guys interested and keep it varied and just keep it away from all the boring, mundane stuff people think about as standard training, getting in shape.
Did they respond quite well to that? Are they enjoying it?
I think they are. A lot of people may not be in terms of having to put up with all the sessions that are quite hard work. But yeah, I think they're actually enjoying the results more than anything, yeah. Okay,
and so one of the things I'm curious about is what your understanding is of the whole education of players and coaches in American football in the UK. How do you think that they interpret training and their approach to training? Do you think they're quite used to going through workout programs and proper nutrition, or do you think this is something that maybe needs to be developed a bit more in the future?
Oh, education can always be developed. Like, I think at the moment, quite a lot of the people I've come into contact with may have more than just a basic knowledge, which is quite impressive. But I think once people get an idea of what they think they need, they just kind of keep that level and don't try and outgo and progress their knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that's crucial to improving your results because, I mean, if you keep on the same program every time, your results are just going to kind of stagnate and it's going to get boring again. But I think we definitely need to work on educating people and helping them help themselves almost.
We've got FBU coming up in Stirling now in a couple of weeks, and their key focus is on building athleticism in players and then building their football skills on top of that. Do you notice much of a difference between, say, America and the UK for people coming out of high school, for example? The level of athleticism and the amount of emphasis they put on developing kids at a younger stage?
Oh, definitely. I think the US puts a much greater emphasis on developing athletes at a much younger stage than we do. I mean, some of the pros that are in the league now, if you look back on their high school careers and all the training stuff they do, it's ridiculous. I mean, Brian Cushing, for example, came out of high school as like the second top linebacker recruited in the country, and he's just about as big a bench as I do, and he was 18.
Yes, it's certainly impressive seeing some of these guys coming through out of high school and in the combine. You mentioned earlier about these types of techniques that you use developed from the pros. Can people do them at home, for example, when we're talking to people here, getting themselves in shape for adult seasons or for seasons in the future? What kind of things can they be doing? What kind of equipment can they be using?
There's quite a lot of things. I mean, one example that I find myself kicking myself about was a piece of equipment we use called a prowler, which is pretty much a triangular sled on 3 skis. And I mean, we forked out a good bit of money to get these because we were like, oh, all the NFL guys are using these on the videos. It'll be great. We'll get a lot of use out of it. And reading through some of the forums that I go through, some guy has done almost exactly the same idea just by flipping a table with 4 legs on the flat side and just loading up the legs with weights. And I was like, I could have saved myself so much money right there.
Okay, excellent. So we're now coming into the adult leagues now. In a few weeks' time, we're going to have the first games kicking off. University leagues just finishing up. How do players, we've talked about going into a season and getting ready and building yourself up to a peak. How do players then come out of a season? I know from myself, you play a season, you feel quite physically drained. All the work you've done before the season goes into carrying you through all these games. What kind of things can the university players now do to help them recover from injuries and get back into their off-season training?
This kind of comes back to the point I made of a lack of flexibility in the adult leagues that has been the main thing that I've seen. A good way to correct flexibility issues is with any kind of massage you can get at a physiotherapist, or for a cheaper option, you can do self-myofascial release with any number of things, foam rollers you can buy, you can use tennis balls. That is a really good way to sort your flexibility and injury issues, as well as doing things like ice baths. Regular stretching is another main thing. But all those things combined, and then keeping training in the off-season so you don't dip too much in your performance and then have to rebuild it all up for the next season.
Good. And of course, keeping an eye on your nutrition, making sure you're eating healthily, balanced meals, getting enough protein, for example.
Oh, definitely. Nutrition is almost the biggest part of recovery. A lot of people don't think of it as that as an example of recovery, but it is. Balanced diet is good. Don't go too crazy on all the supplements. I know kids these days are wanting to buy everything that's got a shiny label. Yeah. Don't go too crazy on it. They're called supplements for a reason. It's meant to supplement a balanced diet.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, there's a lot of information there. Hopefully it's helpful to you guys out there. I have a quick touch on the adult season coming up now. I know Edinburgh, you're working with them. They're going to have their games kicking off soon, as well as the rest around the country. How do you feel they're shaping up for this year?
The progress they've made is a lot compared to when I first got them. I mean, when I first came to train with them, the fitness levels were quite low, the motivation was quite low, a lot of people flagging, and now not only have they improved fitness-wise and performance-wise, but they've also, I feel, come together much better as a team through all the hardship, as if you want to call it that, from the training that we've been doing. But they've seemed to have bonded a lot better as a team. Great.
Well, thanks for coming in, Will. Hopefully that's some good information for you guys out there. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Is it a good night? Is it a great night? Great night! That's right, baby, it is a great night.
So 5 years ago, we started what's now called Football University to go out and train the kids with the proper football technique and the proper fundamentals so they can be better football players, both on and off the field. Right up to the limit, we're up to the bar all day. You know. Don't pretend it's everywhere. Chase the life and get the best. You find the string, what can I say? Pay the price, but not today.
Somehow that you can't overcome it, that you can't do it, but you gotta persevere.
You get an opportunity to listen real good to these 2 fine NFL coaches that we have downstairs.
Now we're settled step and we're going right.
The or not you're willing to sacrifice in the right way in this day forward.
Taste the life, forget the past. Your life's a string, why can't I say pay the price, but not today, not today, not today, not today. I know I'll pay. Just not today. Just not today. Don't pretend it's ever left. Taste the life, forget the past. Your life's a string, why can't I say pay the price?
My experience here in Scotland, it was extraordinary. It exceeded all of my expectations.
Everybody was involved. I see talent. I see guys that have ability to play beyond. And I just thought tonight was super nice.
There's a lot of intrinsic values on this team as far as leadership, and I think there's a lot of determination.
Steve, thanks for joining us again on Gridiron TV. It's always good to have you back on the show. It's just under 3 weeks now to the next FBU clinic. How are the numbers looking, attendance-wise?
Yeah, you know, Stuart, we've actually done pretty well, I think, in year one. We'll probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 athletes and 125 athletes. So just waiting on some confirmations from some coaches down in London Way and in Bristol and also in the northeast part of England that have mentioned that they're bringing some kids up as well. So we should be around 100 to 125 mark, which is right about what our goal was in year one. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good to see the interest that you get from the kids, you know, to make this. So we spoke to a coach on the show this evening, and he was talking about the benefits. It's not about generally being a good ball player, it's about trying to be an athlete and going to that next stage. Is that what you're offering the kids?
You know, that's a good question, Stuart. I get that question posed to us a lot, and I would say first and foremost, you know, we're really a camp company. We like to call ourselves the FBU experience because it's really more than a camp. It's really an experience that these athletes are getting and coaches are getting. And so our goal is to teach the athletes proper techniques, proper fundamentals, you know, so that they can take their game to the next level. Now, obviously, we have different events, and we're looking to build an all-star team and all the different types of sorts. But, you know, we really like to think ourselves as our motto is football university is technique. And in order to be a great football player, you've got to have great technique.
Steve, you added an extra incentive since the last time we spoke. We're looking at the Euro All-Star team, as you previously mentioned there, and also getting the key athletes to attend your Top Gun clinic in the States as well. What do players have to achieve to get selected for this?
Yeah, and you know, Coach Orr is going to be on our committee to help select some of those athletes at the camp that we have coming up. Coach Ben Herod, who runs the Bristol team down at Bristol Academy down there, he's coming up and will be on that selection committee. I think obviously we're looking for athletes that have the ability to compete and that have the proper fundamentals, proper technique, but are really the athletes out there on the field that are difference makers. And so when we're at the camp, April 21st and 22nd, we're going to name at least 2 athletes from this camp to that European All-Star team, and it could be more. But, you know, we're looking for athletes that want to compete at the next level and come over into San Antonio in January and compete against other national teams across the world, really.
I mean, I think the headache that you would really want for FBU is to have 10, 20 kids available from the UK, wouldn't you?
it'd be great if we had 10 kids that came out of this camp that gave us a third of our team, because we're going to have, it looks like, probably 30 kids that'll come out of Europe in year one to come over and compete in our international cup that we're going to have in January in San Antonio. So if there's 10 kids out on the field, when we're up in Stirling in April, then so be it. But that would be great to have a third of our team already picked.
You mentioned about the Euro All-Star team playing in San Antonio. Are they going to be playing against a United States All-Star team or a Canada All-Star team?
Yeah, we're putting that together right now. We're actually talking to some teams in Mexico who are putting together an All-Star team. We're putting together several Canadian All-Star teams with the different provinces in Canada. And then and we're also talking to, actually on Thursday, we're having our second call with a team of All-Stars out of Japan that will also compete. So it really is going to be an international cup that we're going to have the European All-Star team compete against San Antonio.
Wow, I didn't realise it was going to go international, such as having Japan, Mexico as well involved. I mean, this is fantastic to organise something, an event that I don't really think anyone's really ever seen before. What made you think about putting together an international event such as this?
We've always thought about it, and I think, Rich McGinnis, the founder and the owner of the U.S. Army All-American Bowl and Football University, has always had that vision of someday having something like this. And I think with what we've been able to do up in Canada with the U15 Canada versus USA game this past year, we did a national tournament in the States that went really well. I think we have the tools, and we have obviously the background of the U.S. Army game to really add some credibility to what we're doing. So, you never know until you actually put yourself out there, and that's kind of what we've done, is put ourselves out there and saw that there is a lot of people in a lot of different countries that are very interested in getting involved in this, and there's some other Scandinavian teams that we're talking to as well about at some point. I don't know if it'll be this January, but at some point down the road, we'll get some of those countries involved as well.
Let's go back to the FBU clinic in Stirling quickly. Obviously, the dates are the 21st to the 22nd of April, and you're running a Friday evening coaches clinic, and obviously the Saturday, Sunday is for the players. Now, can you just remind everybody the coaches that you're actually bringing with you to the camp?
Sure. Our quarterback coach, Gene Dahlquist, who is a former head football coach of the Scottish Claymores. I'm sure many of you probably remember him.
Yeah.
Also coached for the Dallas Cowboys and several other NFL teams, is going to be our quarterback coach. Ted Cottrell, who is a former defensive coordinator for the San Diego Chargers and several other NFL teams, and is currently the gentleman that sits on the NFL board that levies the fines whenever there's illegal hits by the NFL players. He's going to be our defensive line and linebackers coach. Chuck Bresnahan, former defensive coordinator for the Oakland Raiders, is going to be working with our defensive backs. Quinn Smith, who is a former Chicago Bear, is going to be working with the running backs. And then Larry Zerline, who was actually over back in September, is going to be our offensive line coach that has 2 Super Bowl rings. So we're excited about the coaches that we're bringing over. And then, of course, everybody knows Cecil Martin, who works for Sky Sports and is a former Philadelphia Eagle and Oakland Raider. He'll be coming over, also working as a rover with our running backs and doing several other things for us while we're on the ground there.
Steve, we've spoken to coaches in England recently, and one of the head coaches from the Peterborough Saxons, for instance, who have a youth football team, and I was asking him if any of the kids were coming up to the FBU clinic. As I do with all teams, I always ask if anyone's coming up for the FBU. And the consensus is it's quite expensive for the kids to travel from the south of England to Scotland for a 2-day event. Do you think maybe next year you might have something in England as well to try and capture the kids from down south?
I do think so, yes. I think Coach Orr did a fantastic job when we were over there. All the stops that we made, and I think we made 4 stops at the UK when we were there back in September doing our clinic. All the guys did a great job. In Birmingham and Bristol, and several other spots in London that we stopped along the way. And Coach Orr did a fantastic job by having 120 or so athletes, up there, and that's where we decided to actually host our first our first FPU camp. But we were just talking about that the other day with Coach Herod down in Bristol about holding something maybe in September and giving the opportunity to some of the kids around that area to come out and put together clinics and combines that we can do in that area for an opportunity to give those kids a chance to play for that European All-Star team as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic. It's a great thing that you're doing for football in the UK, and I'm sure all teams and all players out there absolutely appreciate everything you're doing and the efforts that FPU are making to try and not only get the kids more up to speed with the game, but also the exposure of the game in the UK as well, which we've been needing for such a long time. So, look, Steve, absolutely thank you very much for joining us again on Gridiron TV.
Well, you guys do a great job. I've been following you now since you were there in September, and obviously with all your links that you put up on Facebook, and kudos to what you guys are doing for football all across the UK. We're extremely excited to be partnered with you guys, and I hope that you follow us along the way and help us, get the word out there throughout all of the UK that FPU is there to stay, and we're excited about what we're going to be doing with this All-Star team, and very excited about the partnership that we're having with you, and anything we can ever do for Gridiron TV in the future. Just give us a call, Stuart. We're excited about what you guys are doing too. If I can give one more shout out, maybe, for all the athletes and coaches get an opportunity to see this and hopefully go to the website and register for the camp. If you're a coach and you have an opportunity to come up there on the Friday, this really is a campus opportunity to get an opportunity to learn from 5 guys that probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 100 years of coaching experience. So it's a great opportunity for anybody that gets that chance to come up to Stirling on April 20th.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and we'll definitely put something else on the Gridiron TV Facebook website as well, and we'll promote you guys as much as we possibly can.
Thanks so much, Stuart.
And welcome back to Gridiron TV. Thanks to Will Brown there for coming on and talking to us about conditioning and fitness in the sport. Alan, it was another weekend for the Irish game again. We had 3 games.
Yeah, not that many this week. It's just a couple, but some big scores and a couple of tighter matches as well.
I mean, Trinity College won 7-0 against the Dublin Demons.
It's a big result, isn't it?
It's a huge result.
Dublin not having the greatest start to the season, certainly, but Trinity had a couple of losses against them early on, some big points against them, so now they've really turned it back round and really put a heavy score against Dublin.
And we look at the Cowboys again, 26-14 against the Phoenix.
Yeah, so a tighter one actually. From all accounts, it was a really good match. So that'll certainly help them pick up and stabilise their season going forward.
I mean, Carrickfergus Knights lost last week narrowly, and they lose again this week by quite a convincing score against the Vikings.
Yeah, they're certainly looking to turn around. There was just 3 points in that last game, and they wanted to turn around and get that back on track, get the season going again.
I mean, 55-13 is quite a result, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly not what they were looking for. They just seem to be overpowered with scores for 55 points. Really, it's hard to bridge that gap. Certainly, if the talent difference is there.
I mean, you can see straight away from the narrow loss last week, and also they lost convincingly this week. But they certainly bounced back, and you hear the guys on Facebook all the time, and I read up on it. And they're all itching to play the next game and itching to play the next game. There's quite a good positivity about the league.
Definitely. There's a good support within them. You see the messages being left, congratulating them or commiserating them. Yeah. So there's a good support around the league as well. Yeah.
I mean, the 2 top teams were rested this week. We had the Belfast Trojans, who are top and undefeated on the Northern Conference, and we've got the Dublin Devils, who are 3-0 3-0 in the Southern Conference. Are they back in action again this week?
They will be, so they'll be back in action. Some other teams will be going again, so we'll get more coming.
And so if you want to know a little bit more about the Irish leagues, just simply Google Irish American football and go on, support the teams, support the league, and get to find your favourite teams across the 2 conferences, and also the Development League as well, because they have the Development League on, don't they?
That's right, yeah. Great little initiative.
Yep, so certainly go on there, follow them. I'll be right back in a short break, and I'll be talking to Campbell Lewis. Hi, welcome back to Gridiron TV. I'm now joined by Campbell Lewis. Campbell Lewis has coached football for many years now, and he's coached all levels. Campbell, do you want to tell us a little bit more of what you've actually coached in the past?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I've coached at all the different levels of domestic football in the UK. I actually started at the senior level when I was still playing, just to take on assistant coach role and sort of work my way up from there. But I've coached the youth team, junior, and in the university leagues, and I've also been a coach in many other sports, and it's something that's been a part of my life for quite many years.
Campbell, you were with GB Lions as a player, and the very best coaches in the UK work with the GB Lions. Did you learn a lot from those coaches over your time?
I did, yes. Obviously, I was very lucky to have the experience at the training camps that I was invited to with the Great Britain team. It is the pinnacle of football and domestic football, and it's an opportunity that improved me as a player, but I would say even more so as an excellent experience as a coach, seeing how the preparation is key for practices, seeing how practice should be organised, having different parts of practices filmed, how that's then analysed later and feedback given to players. It's all key aspects to the coaching.
What was the most important thing that you've taken from a coaching thing such as Great Britain Lions or potentially through a coaching conference? What's the biggest thing you've taken away that's helped you or influenced your coaching career?
Really there's two things. I mean, one is that it's all about preparation, and unfortunately that means giving up even more of your time. It's not just a case of going to the practices on 2 or 3 times a week. It's a lot of work in preparation for it. But the second thing is, you mentioned about the conferences. The second thing really is to constantly look to improve yourself. With American football especially, it's a sport that if you're relying on what you know, you're falling behind. You really need to constantly look at what's happening. You only have to look at the best college coaches and the best NFL teams that are constantly updating what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we had Pete Laird on a couple of weeks ago talking about the BAFTA conferences that are taking place across the whole of the UK. And if you want to look more information on those courses, you go into the BAFTA website, and there's still some courses going ahead. There was a course in Edinburgh on the 31st, and what we've heard, the feedback was a fantastic turnout. Now, you've been on those courses. Do you think that for anybody who hasn't been on one, do you want to tell them reasons why they should go on them if they want to be a coach in the future? Well, for a start, there's a legal requirement for you to be insured to coach football in the UK. You have to have or be undertaking at least the basic football qualification. But I would even encourage players who think that they just want to maybe take on more of a leadership role in their team to consider going and doing the level 1, purely because it gives you a greater appreciation for the game, for what a coach has to do at practice to prepare everything. I mean, I started off as a player. I was only 13 years old, and to me, it was a case of turning up every Saturday and we had practice. And I didn't ever think what goes into it behind the scenes. But it gives you, doing your coach qualification, gives you a greater appreciation for the effort, why you need to be there on time. You know why you need to jog to the next drill, all that sort of thing. For coaches that want to develop themselves, the level 1's just the start. I mean, Campbell, we've got the Football University coming to Stirling on the 20th to the 22nd of April, where coaches can go along on the Friday night and learn from such great coaches like offensive line coach Zerline, who won the Super Bowl in 2008 with the Steelers. But it's not just that, it's incentive that the kids have got at the end of it, the chance to be picked and selected for the Euro All-Star team. Now, that's a huge opportunity for any kid, isn't it? It certainly is. I mean, it's an opportunity that I wish was around when I was growing up, coming through the youth football. The team that the FBU are going to put together, it's going to be the best youngsters from around the country, from around Europe, and what they're going to do, they're going to look for the best athletes they can get, and they're going to teach them as much football knowledge as they can at the same time as teaching them all the different strength and conditioning. Will talked earlier in the show about the difference between kids coming out of the US high schools and the way that sport and fitness in general is perhaps not a focus as much in the UK, and there is a huge difference there. But this team that's coming up could be a real springboard for some young athletes in the UK to go on to potentially look to have secondary education at United States colleges, and the coaching that they'll get there and the support, the infrastructure that they'll get there, it's going to be second to none. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll see a huge difference in the kids who get selected for the team. We'll see a big difference between where they need to measure themselves when they couple against these kids in the States, because I mean they've been playing it since PV football. And a lot of the kids here don't really sort of take up till they're 14 years old. Do you think we should be starting the kids younger in the UK? I do. At the same time, it's not even necessarily that we should be starting the kids younger, it's that we should be starting more kids in general. At the moment in the UK, the contact football starts at age 14, and yes, I do think that we could start football at an earlier age, but in my point of view, I just think we should get an awful lot more 14, 15-year-old kids into the sport. At that age, when the kids are at high school, they are looking for hobbies, things to fill their time,
and our sport really should be striving to be one of those things.
Yeah, and we do see more and more school programmes across them. Obviously we see Tom Cameron in Edinburgh, for instance, and there's guys down south as well who are promoting the sport and try and get it involved in the curriculum. Do you think it's maybe something, say, in the next 5 years that we might actually see in the curriculum in high schools in the UK?
I can't see it happening generally, especially with the economic situation, the way things are at the moment, but there are, in some regions, there's always going to be opportunities. I've just mentioned the economic situation. In some regions that will actually perhaps make it more likely that schools will be looking to have external people come in and take a couple of classes and take the kids off the teacher's hands for an hour or so. And some teams do an excellent job of that, but I really do think it's, at the moment, and certainly for the foreseeable future, it will depend on the individual circumstances that each team or each region might have.
Yeah, certainly. Well, Campbell, thanks so much for joining us. So hopefully we'll see you very shortly in the next couple of weeks in regards to your Coach's Corner. So we'll look forward to that. Certainly if you want to get involved with American football, and especially at a youth level, just visit the British American Football National League's website, on just Google BAFNL, and go on there, find your local team and get involved. Most teams do have youth teams, so you can go on there, get down. Even if you don't want to play, get involved in your local team and you can help off the field as well. So don't go away, we'll be right back. Well, 2 weeks ago we saw the Hertfordshire Hurricanes take on the Loughborough Aces for that final spot in the Waffle Bowl final. And Gridiron TV has footage for you right now.
Stand back! There's a hurricane coming through!
Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in this episode of Gridiron TV. A big thank you to Will Brown and Campbell Lewis for joining us on the show, and a huge thank you to Steve Quinn for talking about the Football University. Remember, Football University is in Stirling from the 20th of April to the 22nd, and our place is left for the Coaches Clinic on the Friday night and the Players Clinic from Saturday to Sunday. And if you want to get involved with Gridiron TV, you can contact us at Gridiron TV on Facebook or Gridiron_TV on Twitter, and also gridirontv@gmail.com. So from myself and from Alan and all at Gridiron TV, thanks for watching.
Good night.